Alright guys, now for today's video I wanted to talk about the girl Hu Tao once more. There's something about Hu Tao that's really starting to grow on me. I don't know what it is, I'm just really gravitating towards this character and really anticipating for her to drop. Now I know we had that bad news and we talked about it in the last video, and there's still maybe some hope that she comes towards the tail end of version 1.3. We can just hope, but we'll have to see and get more confirmation on that later down the road. But there's something about this character that I just really enjoy talking about, and I'm really gravitating towards, like I mentioned earlier. I don't know if it's like her unique gameplay style, her unique character design, or like her personality being a prankster and things of that nature, but I'm really starting to enjoy this character. I'm really highly anticipating her, and I've been enjoying talking about her skills, and just preparing and getting ready for when she drops. So I hope you guys don't mind all the Hu Tao videos, because I think I'm going to be doing a lot more here in the recent days, just talking about her builds, constellations, what's going to be best on her, and things of that nature. So if you enjoy Hu Tao, you're a Hu Tao simp, or you just really enjoy this character like I do, then stick around the channel, make sure you subscribe, turn notifications on, as I'll be dropping a lot of videos in regards to her gameplay style, her equipment, build, things of that nature. So once again, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about her constellations as well as artifact builds. So we're going to go a little into detail, nothing too crazy, probably nothing that you guys don't know already, but I wanted to speak about her constellations specifically because Hu Tao is one of those characters that her constellations are absolutely ridiculous across the board for most of them, but we're going to go more into detail about that here in just a second. Whereas other characters, like I would even point out to like Xiao, for example, who, to be quite honest with you, his constellations aren't absolutely nutty like Hu Tao's are. Xiao, you can go C0 and be absolutely perfectly fine and him perform wonderfully for you, and you can still do big PP damage, go burr, and absolutely wreck the entire game and be perfectly fine at C0. Obviously, with the constellations, he's going to be nutty and absolutely ridiculous and a much better character, but not like Hu Tao. But for this video, I wanted to talk about which constellations are probably the most important for Hu Tao. At least in my opinion, what I think is going to be the most important for Hu Tao, or what I think are the nuttiest constellations, maybe ones that you should be looking for, or which ones to go for, or which ones are like, the sweet spot to maybe stop at. So if we take a look at her constellations, we have the very first one, C1, Crimson Bouquet, excuse me, while in the E skill, so the Permita Papilio, if I pronounced that incorrectly, I probably did, states activated by Guide to Afterlife, Hu Tao's charge attack does not consume stamina. This is absolutely ridiculous. Borderline broken, and we're going to get into that here in just a second. C1 we do need to go into a little detail about. So while in the Paramita Papilio, I don't know why that's so hard for me to pronounce, state activated by Guide to Afterlife. So what is that? So Guide to Afterlife, if you do not know, is her E skill, and the Paramita Papilio is the buff or transformation, I should say, that Hu Tao goes into when you pop this E skill. So we're going to just go over that really quickly. So Hu Tao consumes a set portion of her HP to knock the surrounding enemies back and enter the Paramita Papilio state. I'm sorry guys, I'll get it down here in just a second. So what is this state? So it increases Hu Tao's attack based on her max HP at the time of entering this state. Attack bonus gained this way cannot exceed 400% of Hu Tao's base attack. Convert your attack damage to pyro damage, which cannot be overridden by any other elemental infusion. Charge attacks applied by the Blood Blossom effect to the enemy's hit. And increases Hu Tao's resistance to interruption. So she has Ignore Interrupt. This E skill right here is an absolutely ridiculous one, and allows Hu Tao to do a whole lot of things with sacrificing some HP. Now, what is so great about this in conjunction with C1? Well, when you pop the E skill and you go into that Paramita Papilio state, I think I nailed it that time, I don't know, let me know in the comments down below. Hu Tao's charge attacks do not consume stamina. What is Hu Tao's charge attack? Well, if we take a look here, Hu Tao's charge attack, it consumes a certain amount of stamina to lunge forward, dealing damage to opponents along the way. That right there is not going to consume any stamina at C1, basically meaning that for how long are you in this state for? This duration lasts for 9 seconds. This E skill, if you pop it and you're in that state because you pop the E skill. So for 9 seconds, you can essentially spam this charge attack, which if you did not know, I went ahead and looked into the information. Now keep in mind, the numbers and percentages that we're going to be taking a look at are still in beta, so they can change and they can update. But as of this recording, the charge attack, let's say level 8 for example, is at 215%. If we use somebody, just for example, another polearm user, the boy Xiao, who's going to be coming out here very soon, who has a very nice charge attack, by the way. It consumes a certain amount of stamina to perform an upward thrust. His charge attack damage at level 8 is 191%. So Hu Tao's being at 215% is an amazing charge attack, at least on a polearm, comparison basis. It's going to be doing damage, and you can basically spam that, and it's lunging you forward, and it's dealing damage to opponents along the way, so it can have a slight, maybe very little AoE path that you do. Now, we do have to see gameplay on this and see how it actually looks and performs, but nonetheless, being able to essentially spam that for about 9 seconds with all of the buffs pertaining to your damage output and then converting that to pyro damage, yeah, that's borderline, if I'm reading that correctly. And once again guys, as always, go in the comments down below. I'd love to talk to you about this stuff. Let me know if I'm not understanding it correctly, but for about 9 seconds, all those buffs, it's to me borderline broken. C1, which is absolutely incredible. So that is the Crimson Bouquet. And then if we take a look at C2, the Ominous Rainfall increases the Blood Blossom damage by the amount equal to 10% of Hu Tao's max HP at the time the effect is applied. Additionally, Spirit Soother will also apply the Blood Blossom effect. Ominous Rainfall C2, which did get a slight buff. If you didn't see my video on that, on Hu Tao getting buffs, this did get a slight buff, and this one is pretty dang ridiculous as well. This is where Hu Tao's constellations are just on another level compared to other characters. So increases the Blood Blossom damage by the amount equal to 10% of Hu Tao's max HP. So really quickly, we're going to dive into some details about this one as well. If you do not know, Hu Tao, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, once again, these numbers can change. As of right now, she has, I believe, the highest base HP in the game out of all characters, if this remains the same. So she naturally has the highest HP in the game, and once again, the C2 is equal to 10% of Hu Tao's max HP, and it's the Blood Blossom damage. If you do not know, the Blood Blossom damage, once again, is integrated in her E skill. Let's take a look here. Blood Blossom. Enemies affected by Blood Blossom will take pyro damage every 4 seconds. This damage is considered elemental skill damage. Each enemy can be affected by only one Blood Blossom effect at a time, and its duration may only be refreshed by Hu Tao herself. Paramita Papilio ends when its duration is over, or Hu Tao has left the battlefield or has fallen. So basically, when you're in that Blood Blossom, or you have that marked on the enemies, it's going to allow you to do pyro damage every 4 seconds. It does last for 8 seconds, and it has additional damage associated with it. So when you have C2 on Hu Tao, increases Blood Blossom damage by the amount equal to 10% of Hu Tao's max HP, which basically means you're going to be doing more damage at the time the effect is applied. And additionally, the Spirit Soother will also apply the Blood Blossom effect. The Spirit Soother is her elemental burst, which is an AoE, so commands a blazing spirit to attack, dealing pyro damage in a large AoE at that. So not only can you apply the Blood Blossom effect with her E skill, but now you can apply it with their elemental burst, and it's a large AoE. You're going to be marking a lot of enemies, you're going to be doing a lot more damage to enemies, and you're going to be doing pyro damage over time as well. It's pretty ridiculous, man. As you can see, just C1 and C2 alone are absolutely nutty, which is going to allow Hu Tao to be a whole nother character, and is going to allow her to hit like an absolute truck, and it's going to be amazing. So honestly, if you get C1, you're absolutely fantastic. You can stop right there. You're good. C0 Hu Tao is still going to be absolutely fantastic as well. Don't get me wrong. But if we're talking about constellations, like if you want to know what to go for, where to stop, things like that, C1, perfectly fine. It seems like a really, really good one. If you want to shoot for C2, which C2 is amazing, then yes, C2, like for example, if you're telling me where a sweet spot to stop, I think C2 would be a sweet spot to stop at. Obviously, now I'm talking to the whales, megalodons, leviathans, the creatures that are deep in the ocean that, you know, come out once every 150 years and they just freaking drop thousands of dollars. No, so C2 would be a sweet spot to stop at, right? It's a really good constellation. You can stop right there. You don't have to go any further. Reason why I say that is because if we take a look at C4, basically it allows Hu Tao to be like a supporting character now. It allows her to give crit rate to her allies in the team, and it increases it by 12% for 15 seconds. Nothing to really write home about. It's nice, but it's not needed. That's why I say C2 is a sweet spot to stop at. Now C6, this is for the ancient creatures that are out there that are dropping thousands of dollars. C6 is one of the most broken C6s I've ever heard out of any character ever. And if you were ever to C6 a character, this would be the one to do. Hu Tao would be the character to C6 each and every day of the week, but it's not recommended to really go that deep. And remember, these characters do come back, so eventually you will C6 her at some point in time. It may not be for a while, but you don't have to do it right off the bat. But if you were to C6 a character, like you planning on it, this one would be the one, but it's not needed. And you can see, you know, you can read the reason why C6 is absolutely and utterly ridiculous. But if you're asking me the sweet spot, I think C2 is the sweet spot. You can stop at C1, she'll be absolutely ridiculous. C0, Hu Tao will still be incredibly amazing, because of her passive talents, because of her E-skill, because of her elemental burst, how her kit works, how it synergizes, and how she's able to utilize it. She's going to be perfectly fine there, and you wouldn't have to go any further with that. Now, as far as artifacts are concerned, I think it's pretty, you know, pretty obvious or pretty simple the type of artifacts you can use for Hu Tao. I don't think you really have to think about it too much. Now, I will be doing testing, and I will be looking into this a little bit further, as well as if you have different ideas or options, I would love for you guys to go in the comments down below and let me know what you guys think. But I think the Gladiator, I think the 2-piece set would be fantastic for Hu Tao. I don't necessarily think the 4-piece set is going to be the most beneficial, because it's towards the normal attack damage. And if you don't know Hu Tao's normal attack damage, base stats are not all that great, to be quite honest with you. They're low, but there's a reason why it's low. But the 2-piece set, just having that natural attack percentage increase, not towards normal attack or anything like that, just general attack percentage, that's very nice. So if you wanted to go a 2-piece Glad, that's perfectly fine. I wouldn't really recommend the 4-piece. Now, the one that I would recommend overall, and I think this is pretty obvious, is the Crimson Witch of the Flame set, or Crimson Witch of Flame set, going for the 4-piece. But what you could do if you wanted to experiment, which I'll probably try, is 2-piece Glad, 2-piece Crimson Witch, and see how that works because of the pyro damage bonus. But in all honesty, as I'm looking at it a little bit further, I think going full 4-piece set on the Crimson Witch is going to be absolutely phenomenal, because if you have the 2-piece, increases the pyro damage bonus, but if you have the 4-piece, obviously you're getting the increase overload, the elemental reactions, right? But what is really interesting is using the elemental skill increases the 2-piece set bonus by 50% of its starting value for 10 seconds, max 3 stacks. So you're getting the additional pyro damage bonus and then an additional 50% when you do the elemental skill. And as we just went over here earlier, the elemental skill is going to convert attack damage to pyro damage. So you're getting that, but if you also take a look, I believe it's within her passive, this one right here, when Hu Tao's HP is equal to or less than 50%, her pyro damage bonus is increased by 33%. So you can see how she's really catered towards being able to do tons of pyro damage. And I think that's where the Crimson Witch Flame set is going to be extremely beneficial to go ahead and apply on your Hu Tao because of that reason alone. Now, of course, there are other artifacts that you can apply and experiment with and test out, like I'll probably be doing myself. Bloodstain, I mean, you could take a look at that and see. The only thing about that one is the charge attack damage is nice, but the reduced stamina cost is 0 is not really necessary if you have C1. If you don't have C1, then that could be, you know, something to try out and could be, you know, something to utilize or test. But, you know, obviously there are other ones that you can look into and see how they'll work out for you and test. But I think the Crimson Witch is going to be the best one, the 4-piece set, or like I mentioned, 2-piece Glad, 2-piece Crimson Witch, and see how that works out. Be doing some testing and trying it out myself, and I'll be looking into this a little bit further and see if there's any hidden gems in there that might be a sneaky good option. But you know, when it comes to that, as far as like how you would want to utilize it, obviously pyro damage bonus, and things of that nature. If you want me to go more into detail about how to build Hu Tao in regards to like her stats, you know, if you should build her attack, pyro damage, crit damage, things of that nature, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be more than happy to do that for you guys. But anyways, this was the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it helped out, and I hope you guys are as excited as for Hu Tao to drop as I am. We'll get more information, and just be strong, guys. We can hold out. It's not a big deal. We can just enjoy what we have right now, but still highly anticipate Hu Tao. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you liked what you saw. If you did, drop a like. I'm going to get out of here. Remember to stand out, be different, have fun, go further beyond in everything that you do. And until next time, my boys, until next time, it's your homie Cody GT, and I'm out. Bye, guys.